If you're confused or frustrated when you spell chords, watch this video to learn my two-step process for spelling chords, and you'll discover the one mistake you must avoid every time you spell a chord. Hi, I'm Donna from DonnaSchwartzMusic.com, the site to boost your improvisation skills and performance skills up to the next level. I often get emails and comments on my Facebook Lives and my YouTube videos about how to spell chords properly. People are confused about, what goes into a dominant seventh chord, or why are certain notes in these chords when they don't fit the key signature? And that's the question that I want to answer. Okay, so let's head on over to my screen and let's do some basic chord spelling, and I'm going to show you my two-step process. Okay, so I figured the best thing that we can use would be a blues to start with, and in particular a basic blues, because there's only 3 chords, and the 3 chords are dominant seventh chords. So let's talk about that as I show you the process. Okay, I'm in the key of F over here, and my 3 chords are F7, B flat 7, and C7. All right, step number 1 in my how to spell a chord process, my chord spelling process. Identify the type of chord. So when you see a letter name followed by a 7, it's going to be a dominant 7th chord. Well, what does a dominant 7th chord sound like? Well, here's F7. Here's each individual note. A dominant 7th chord is a chord of tension. Okay, in Western music, it is the chord of tension. And, in more modern music, we've added extensions to this chord to make it really kind of interesting and give it more tension. And when you have tension, you have to release it. Okay, so how do you spell a dominant 7th chord? All right, well, first step again, we identify the type of chord. Here's the next step, and this is really crucial. This is actually, let me reveal the mistake that people make when they spell chords. So when they're spelling a chord, they tend to follow the key signature in order to spell it out. That's a mistake. You don't want to do that. When you spell out a chord, you want to go from the root note of the chord, and you want to do step 2, which is follow the formula. All right, so what's the formula for a dominant 7 chord? It's the 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So the 1 is the letter name, it's the root note. Then you want to count up 3 from the root note, so F, G, A. Then you want to count up 5 from the root note, F, G, A, B flat, C. Then you want to count up a 7, but it's going to be a lowered 7. When we say 1, 3, 5, flat 7, it doesn't mean that that note's going to have a flat attached to it all the time. All right, it just means lowered 7th, and I'll show you an example in a second. So it's not going to be E natural, because E natural is in this key. No, it's going to be E flat. That's the lowered 7th. So what do you really need to know when you're forming chords? You really should be familiar with key signatures. That will help you, because when I'm forming this chord, I know what a third is from F. Okay, I know what a lowered third is. I know what a lowered 5, a flat 7. It does help to know your key signatures. But more important, it is important to know your intervals. So when I say a third, and when people say a third, that means the major third. A very consonant sound. If we say, flat 3 or lowered third, it's also the equivalent of a minor third. So it would be F to A flat. When we say a fifth, that's a perfect interval, okay? And I've done a video on intervals. I will share the link in the description below. But a fifth away, and remember, you're counting that first note as number 1. So F is 1, F, G, A, B flat, C. It's a pretty hollow sound. Now when I'm counting the 7th, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, it would normally be E natural, but again, it's a lowered 7th, so it's going to be E flat. So instead of this major 7th sound with an E natural, we're having an E flat here to make it a dominant 7. Now let me give you a pro tip. I would really strongly suggest that you purchase, acquire, or even look online for a keyboard. They're cheap enough now. I mean, this keyboard that I'm using here, I hate to say it, but it is true. This thing is probably at least 25 years old, if not more than that. And it's still working. It's a Casio, okay? It's fine. It's not a full keyboard. It's like 61 keys, but it does the job, okay? What's the job? Hearing what these chords sound like. Hearing these intervals. And then hearing the full chord. Why is that important? If you're a horn player, we can only play one note at a time, okay? And I'm excluding multiphonics. Forget about that. We can only play one note at a time. So we're not used to hearing chords unless you've trained yourself to audiate, which means to hear in your head, unless you've trained yourself to audiate chords as you're playing. So how do you train yourself to hear these chords? Get a keyboard and just start playing. And that is going to really help boost your ears. Okay, back to the screen. So we spelled our first chord F7, all right? And again, we noticed this E flat is not in the key signature, okay? So we want to avoid that mistake, all right? Don't go by spelling the chord and getting befuddled by the note not being in the key signature. Let me show you another example and you'll see why. So let's spell this B flat chord here, right? So B flat is going to be the 1 over here. The 3rd up from there, B flat, C, D. The 5 is F. The 7, well, normally the regular 7, the actually major 7, is an A, but no, we want the flat 7, so it's going to be A flat. So that chord will sound like this. Every dominant chord sounds the same, just starts on a different note. Go here. Okay, one more chord to spell. It's the C7 chord, and I'll go down here. So C is the 1. We follow the formula. E is the 3. Follow the formula. G is the 5. And then look at this. Naturally, B flat fits in this key signature. This is the only chord that fits this key signature. Why? Because C7, C is the 5 of F. Okay, so when we have the 5 chord, it naturally, 99% of the time, wants to resolve to the 1. Okay, and the 1 would be, you know, F-A-C. All right, no 7th in there. Are you liking this video? Give it a like. Hey, don't forget to tap that subscribe bell so that you know when I put out a video each and every week. So far, we spelled out the chords for a basic blues, which only uses 3 chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5, and they're all dominant 7 chords. So we identified the type of chord, and then we spelled it out with step 2 by using the formula, okay? And we discovered that we don't want to rely on the key signature of the song in order to inform our note choices for spelling out the chord. Instead, we follow the formula, and it's based on the root note of the chord that we're spelling. Let me show you another example, and this is going to be a variation of blues, a variation of the basic blues, where you're going to see a chord that really kind of comes out of nowhere. Okay, so here we are, basic blues variation 1. Now the difference with this is that we added another chord in here, okay? A diminished chord. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, it's defined for you. We just, you know, figured out the chord type. It's diminished 7th, but that means a different formula, okay? And it's a B natural, okay? That will work, okay? When we spell out the chord, you're going to see why this works. Okay, so first of all, we know the root note is B, so we're going to put a B natural over here. Oops. There we go. Let's make that a natural. Okay, the formula for a diminished 7 chord is the 1, the flat 3 or the minor third, the flat 5. We could also call that an augmented 4th, but we'll do it this way. And then the double flat 7. Okay, so let me show this to you in notes. So B, minor third up is going to be D. A flat 5 up from B is F natural. It's not F sharp. Remember, F sharp, here's B. F sharp, that's a perfect 5th interval. You don't have a minor 5th interval. You have either perfect or diminished. Okay, so B, natural, D, F. Now all we need is some type of 7th. Okay, well, it's going to be A flat. Normally, the 7th, if we have a B, let's say a B7 chord, okay, B7, that 7 would be an A natural. Not the A sharp, it'd be an A natural. That's already 1 half step lower. But in a diminished chord, the formula is 1, flat 3, flat 5, and double flat. Yes, you would see the 2 flats next to each other. Double flat 7. Here's the sound of the B diminished 7 chord. Eerie, woo! Now let me tell you why this B diminished 7 chord works in blues. Okay, it's not just going to be in basic blues. You see this also in jazz blues and other types of forms of blues. So this chord normally happens in the 2nd measure on like the 3rd beat, and also in the 6th measure for the entire measure. When we're coming from the 4 chord, look at the notes. Take a second and let me ask you this question. Look at these notes. What do you notice that's the same and what do you notice that's different? Let me know in the comments below. You probably noticed that all the notes are the same except for the root note. So we come from a B flat 7. All I do is change the root note to a B. That's it. And having this B flat going to the B, well, sometimes the bass will have the C, yeah, the 5, for a nice upward chromatic motion like this. That's why that there's a sharp 4 diminished 7. That's why you'll see it that way. Now, you'll see diminished 7, you'll see the DIM. That's not always going to be there. It'll be a small circle. Okay, so just be aware of that. If you see letter name small circle 7, that's a diminished 7 chord. Okay, and now you see why this is nice motion over here. Recap so far. So 2-step process. Number 1, name the type of the chord. Okay. Number 2, follow the formula for spelling the chord, but do not make the fatal mistake of relying on the key signature of the song. Instead, spell the chord from the root note. And number 3, which would be really good, try to learn your intervals. And it would be ideal if you did learn your key signatures, so that if you have to spell a B7 chord, you'd automatically know that from B, a major 3rd up is going to be D sharp, and the 5th up is going to be F sharp. And if it's a B7, the 7 is going to be not A sharp, but A. Let's spell one more chord type that's very popular. So here we are in a minor blues, very basic over here, and this is going to be in D minor. All right, so let's spell this chord on D minor 7. Well, when you see a little m, that means minor. Okay, when you see nothing there, it's going to be major. What if I just saw D by itself? That means you form, it's a chord, it's a 3-note chord called a triad. Okay, and it's the 1, 3, and 5. Okay. So D minor 7, the formula is 1, flat 3 from the root, 5, flat 7. Okay, so the 1 here is going to be D. Let's get that down. A minor third from D is F natural, not F sharp. F sharp would be a major third. A fifth up from that is A. The seventh is going to be C, not C sharp, but C. Here's the sound of D minor 7. So let me know, did this video help you? Were you making that mistake where you were following the key signature and you were trying to spell a chord and it just didn't sound right, it didn't make sense? Let me know that too. That'll help me for future videos, for future video topics. And if you want more videos like this, definitely check out my website, DonnaSchwartzMusic.com. There's lots of free videos under the free stuff tab. I've got lots of blog articles. And on my YouTube channel here, if you tap that subscribe bell, you're also going to see I have over 400 videos. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been helping people all over the world of all ages, all abilities, helping them boost their music and improvisation skills up to the next level. All right, thanks so much for joining me. On that note, take care. Have a great day.